It's the Cybersecurity podcast brought to you by cyclophatay.ng, and you're welcome to another episode of the Cybersecurity podcast. Today I have another amazing guest with me. Her name is Nia Luckey. Nia Luckey is a seasoned cybersecurity expert specializing in strategic management, cybersecurity operations, and solution implementation, with a robust background spanning diverse industries like retail, financial, technical, and public sectors. She brings a unique blend of skills that can add unparalleled value to the organization. Stay tuned. Today's topic is from Imposter to Empowered, overcoming self-doubt in tech. Today, we're joined by Nia Luckey, a trailblazing woman in tech who has overcome incredible obstacles to achieve success. She would be sharing her insights on taking risk, navigating male-dominated spaces, prioritizing self-care, and communicating technical ideas to non-technical audiences. Get ready for a candid conversation on embracing mistakes, staying current with industry trends, and supporting other women in tech. Let's dive in and learn how Nia has transformed from an imposter to an empowered leader in the tech industry.
All right, good morning. My name is Nia Luckey, and I am a cybersecurity mentor for women pretty much across the globe at this point. But in my professional space, I specialize in cloud security management, GRC, and end-to-end holistic solutions for the clients that I support. I have a huge passion for giving back and ensuring that we're getting the message and the knowledge to emerging talent and people that are trying to get into either information technology or cybersecurity, sharing some best tips on how I've been successful and just a little bit of what I do for mental resilience on a daily basis when things can be overwhelming or I'm coming across something new that I don't necessarily see myself as a good fit for, but the professionals around me, they see me as a good fit in that type of role or supporting that type of business function. And it's always just an exciting journey to see how much I can grow. And that's a little bit about why I'm here today, is sharing some of that with the broader audience so that maybe you guys can take away some of those pro tips and apply them as you're trying to navigate your careers in cybersecurity and information technology.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So nice to have you on the show today.
So excited to be here.
Okay. So what's the most significant risk you've taken in your career and how did it pay off?
Sure. So I think to date, the most riskiest thing I've done with my career was when I decided I was going to pivot. So I had a successful 13-year career supporting the United States Army, and it got to a point where my family was growing and I had to take a risk on something I never did before. And that was actually becoming a cybersecurity expert in the compliance and audit spaces. And how did that pay off? It is a part of my day in and day out job now to date. It gave me a really good way of learning the more granular reasons why organizations, companies, clients need people like me, and so that they can understand compliance, the compliance audit function, and how to best prepare for success when they are going through their regular exams. And once you have a skill set like that, it's like riding a bike, right? So you might not do it every day, all day, but it's one of those that with discipline and with practice, you never lose it. And so that was the upside, was I took a massive risk on something I'd never done before. And I targeted my brain in an area that will suit my career until I retire.
Okay. So how do you deal with stereotypes and biases in the tech industry?
Yeah. So I would say my biggest secret is arming myself with a really reputable network of empowered women and empowered males, lots of mentoring. So I always maintain anywhere between 3 to 5 mentors at any given time. So I'm a lifelong mentee. And then that way, when I do experience things like bias or, there's those unspoken issues that women face, I always have somebody to go to. I already have a multitude of people that I could jump on a call just like this, podcast, or even go get tea, coffee, and talk it out. Because a lot of times what we're experiencing isn't unique to us, but how we navigate it and how we come out of it is unique to us. So I'm always trying to lean into those that I consider successful and try and take away their perspective so I can learn something new to break through those biases that especially women come across as they're trying to navigate their careers. And management sees us better suited in other roles that may be less technical or be less strategic. And then they're more persons-based, they're more people-based, they're more personality-based. And because I want to always be known as an expert in my field and in my craft.
Okay. We all know that tech is a male-dominated space. In fact, cybersecurity field is a male-dominated space. So, what's the best way to navigate male-dominated spaces?
Oh, I love that question because it ties into the one I just answered.
Yeah.
And the reason I love that is because I know there was a lot of stigma, at least here in the United States, regarding the Me Too movement and our male safe mentors, all of that. And within the last decade, we're really trying to make strides in repairing those relationships and mending that trust. And so for me, that's what it comes down to is you're right. It is a very male dominated field, but if you can surround yourself with males that you trust and advisors that you trust that are also male, that see your potential and they're not trying to profit or benefit from the skills that you're bringing to the table. So it's a symbiotic relationship. That's really helped me stay focused, stay in my passion, and just keep driving for something bigger and keep driving for something, more secure that helps get my voice out there, that really helps unify the idea of we can do this together. It's not, men versus women. It's definitely a we approach because we're designed to have different strengths and different skill sets. So the skill set I bring to the table is this level of academic knowledge and this ability to be thorough. And that allows male leaders to parse out the parts of my ideas that benefit the larger picture of an organization or a project or a program or anything that we're collaborating on. And at the end of the day, I'm looking for male trusted advisors and male trusted mentors and peers that's exactly what it is. We're working together. They're not poaching work. They're not, they're giving credit where credit is due. And that's important to me because as a female leader in the industry, that is very much what I bring to the table is if I help you develop a new innovative idea, the last thing Nia is going to do is take credit for that idea. I'm going to amplify that voice and I'm going to elevate whoever brought me the idea or whoever was successful so that we can help spread the word and spread the talent kind of in, again, that collaborative spirit. And so for me, when it comes to navigating a very male-dominated profession, That's kind of my secret trick, is you find who really respects you and who you have a mutual respect for, and you work well together. And then you build and you forge those female-male relationships, and it really trains your brain to kind of look at your career and bias and all of those other kind of annoying issues a little bit differently, because you have someone you trust that you can go back to, and you could have these conversations about, and they take you seriously and you take what they're telling you seriously, and it really helps you succeed in a way that's bigger than getting promoted or, getting a raise. It's bigger than that, and it's a sense of unity that really can't be replaced once you do learn how to forge it for yourself.
Thank you so much. Okay, would you agree with me that this field is a high pressure industry?
Ask that question again, please.
I said, would you agree with me that the field is a high pressure industry, before I go to my next question?
Yes. I mean, much like other tech oriented career fields, it is very high pressure, but it's not high pressure for the reasons you would think. It's high pressure because bad actors, hackers, the bad guys, they're relentless. They are nonstop. And when I say it's a they, it's not one singular person trying to attack your organization. They are organized. They are strategic. They are layering attacks. And the rate of attacks really challenge the levels of security within organizations across the world. So this isn't just a US-based problem. This is a global problem. And so you have that external pressure, right, on the actual security of the organizations. So then there's an internal organization pressure to increase security. So you have these two external points, and then internally you have pressure, right? So if you're a high performer, or you're somebody who really takes your work seriously and you want to do a good job all the time, not just do it once, that could create this internal personal pressure that you then have to coach through and navigate in order to not burn out, in order to stay relevant and successful in the field.
Thank you so much for that. So I just want to dive a little bit into some of your personal experiences. What's the most significant mistake you made, and what did you learn from it?
So that's a good question. Coming from the government space, you develop a mindset that is very black and white, right? So it's very monochromatic, and it's very set in the regulations and the guidelines that the government dictates you need to be compliant with. The biggest mistake I made in my career was taking that knowledge post working with the government into private sector. Private sector is a little bit more nebulous in that we appreciate the black and white, but we don't really appreciate the rigidity of the black and white, because we need it to be more flexible in order to support the larger business, and in order to drive revenue, and in order to promote the functionality and the advancements and the innovations of cybersecurity and information technology as a whole. Well, we all know, after you've been in cybersecurity for a little bit, security doesn't necessarily equal functionality, right? Security doesn't naturalistically drive revenue. So for me, I was coming in with that compliance auditor lens hat on, and I was ready to pass audits and, receive accreditations, which I was successful in. Where I could have been better and where I could have improved was learning how to find that flexibility that allows for business functionality and optimization while accounting for the security requirements that are in the black and white. When I came into private sector, it was more like, nope, if you're not doing this, you are wrong. And, according to some people, that is a correct interpretation. But what I've learned as I've not only advanced in my career, but kind of navigated to a higher level perspective within management is it's much bigger than that. It's much bigger than, is my engineer required to use multi-factor authentication to log in to make these security changes? It's much more integrated, and it's just much larger. So when it's larger, we have to take a look and we have to assess the levels of complexity. And then we have to ask ourselves, is this going to impact, the functionality of the AI model that the client interacts with, right? And if that's too secure, are we really getting business value? And I didn't know that when I was starting out. I was very young, and I had a generalized good idea of cybersecurity compliance and cybersecurity audit and cybersecurity accreditation and what it took to be successful in that. I didn't have an understanding of how to achieve those things while also, profiting for the business and improving experiences for our clients.
Okay. Is it possible to generate or have a work-life balance, especially when your passion project becomes your career?
I challenge everyone listening to this podcast to strive for exactly that. I do believe it is possible, but I do believe it is different for every single person on the planet. The way Nia achieves work-life balance is different than the next person. So with that said, some of the things that I've done to achieve more work-life balance involve time boxing myself, right? So I am a salaried employee. I am willing to work additional hours, right? Because I understand the functionality of a business, but not to a level of detriment, not to a level of I'm working over 14-hour days, not to a level of I'm working on the weekends. If I'm working on the weekends, I make it purposeful, right? But what I also do is I've found a way to connect what I'm passionate about to my continued education. So that keeps me, even though I'm not logged into work, right? I'm still working on my craft and I'm still working on my passion in my personal time. And then when I'm not doing school, I'm very family focused. I'm very, let's unplug. I'm very, let's go hiking. I'm very, let's go, walking. I ensure that I get my 10,000 steps a day, achieving somewhere between, 2 to 4 miles outside in the sunlight, getting that vitamin D to recharge the brain, to kind of work out and walk out my stresses so that when I do come back to the computer, or I do come back to my homework, or I do come back to anything that is cybersecurity focused, my brain had that chance to reset and recharge. Those three things combined have been transformative for my life from when I started about 8 years ago outside of the military to now. When I first got out, it was very, mission focused, very job focused, very, pour myself 110% in, and I will be, I'll see raises and I'll get promotions. And that's not necessarily the case all the time. Sure, it can happen, case by case, but understanding that's not the naturalistic flow really helped me from myself, so that I could, start creating space for that balance, that self-care, that nurturement, that giving back. And then that last component is exactly what we're doing right now, is getting that message back out into the community for free as a mentor, as a podcaster, as a public speaker, so that people can maybe take away one of the things I say and apply it to their life to, achieve more balance and more perspective.
Well, I'm already doing that. I think your work-life balance thing would work for me. It's everything I love to do.
Yeah. It's great. And then there's other things too. Like if you enjoy crafting or baking, like find what makes you happy that isn't, on that computer, that isn't associated with work. Because when we're nurturing our soul, when we're nurturing what really makes us tick, like in the background, that's what makes us even more focused and better able to do our tasks and do them well.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's come back to security a little bit. There's this saying that security is everyone's responsibility, but at the same time, it's not everybody that would understand these technicalities, or you know what I'm trying to say. So, what's the best way to communicate technical ideas to non-technical people?
Find a common language. And I know that's very simplistic sounding, but what I've learned is this. Throughout the levels within cybersecurity, so you have your entry level, you have all the way up and through like your senior engineers and your architects, and then you have middle management, and so they not only manage the product and the engineering solution, but they manage the people. And then the step beyond that is you manage a number of high performing teams, right? It just keeps kind of stacking up. Well, what people don't realize is that at each level, there's what we call a common language, right? And so oftentimes what ends up happening is at the more entry levels, we see things very granularly. And what we see things in the ones and zeros, we see things in the code, we see things in, what we're developing, and we also understand the external business process and if that's impacting our ability to do what we're trying to do. So what it takes is a way to explain risk in a way that regardless of level, regardless of role, that your management understands what's at risk for the organization, which is a very different conversation when I'm talking to a team of high-performing engineers, right? They're going to want to get into the specifics, and I want the higher level, not too high, but enough to be able to express to a senior VP or an executive for that matter, what is really at risk here, right? If we don't fix this security non-compliant area or this broken process, what's at risk for the business? Is it reputation? Is it brand? Is it cost? Is it regulatory non-compliance that's going to be found on an audit? Find that common language is my challenge to everyone listening. And then once you find that common language, there is a way where through a combination of tools, so be it AI or Google, where you can explain the hyper technical, right, in the more granular detail, and ask it to polish it to a higher level messaging that basically says, hey, Manager A, I found this problem. Unresolved, this problem will cause this for the larger organization, or possibly cause, right? Because we have to speak in possibilities and likelihood when we're talking about risk, because risk is something you're never going to fully remediate. But if you want your voice heard and you want, that, hey, I'm raising my hand because security is everybody's responsibility. Just my message to everyone is make it make sense. Find that common language within your organization because it's unique to each organization, and communicate it the best way you can to management, and then stay focused on your tasks and keep, excelling in those areas.
Okay, thank you. This next question. Let's just say you're advising me like directly now. How can I stay current with industry trends without getting overwhelmed?
Ooh, yeah, that's a really good one. And the reason why it's a good one is it's something that I do. So what I first started doing early in my transition out of the military into a more, private sector oriented career was I started listening to podcasts just like this. I started listening to industry leaders on Spotify or on YouTube that really got my brain moving in the mornings, right? Great way to start. Second is I would go online and I would look for reputable articles, right, that were pumped out on a weekly basis or a month, some type of reoccurring basis. And I would sign up for those. That way, I would get emails if something net new happened. So every week I'm getting an alert, right? That says, hey, take a look at these top trending articles. And then what I've learned to do though for myself, because cybersecurity is so vast and there's so many different career fields within it, is I target what I look for, right? So if I'm specializing in cloud security, cloud strategy, and holistic GRC compliance for organizations, those are the top 3 trends I'm going to be looking for. And then if for whatever reason I go a month and I'm not hearing a podcaster bring it up, or I'm not coming across an article, I'll run a Google search. I'll run a Google search, a Bing search. I'm a huge advocate for using multiple browsers. And then I really like leveraging Copilot is probably my favorite AI tool out there right now, and asking it what the current 2024 June cybersecurity trends, pain points, emerging risks are, so that I can remain knowledgeable. But again, I get to filter it through my own lens. I get to filter it through what I'm currently an expert in. And I'm able to bring that knowledge and that, perspective to the table when I'm at work. And it really helps drive down how complex or how overwhelming it can be, especially when you're coming across big attacks that were highly complex, and you're trying to figure out what in your, space of cybersecurity could that organization have done better to prevent the risk in the first place.
Okay, thank you very much. Rounding off the show, I'd like to ask you how you celebrate your achievements without feeling guilty or apologetic.
That's a hard one for me. And it's hard because I have navigated my career as being very humble. So when it comes to celebrating achievements and wins and things like that, it's hard for my brain to do it without feeling like I'm bragging or I'm boasting. So what I've developed for myself is a way to make it about the we and not me, right? So Nia may have achieved something, but unless it's a certification or a degree, I like to give credit to the collective, which in some cases is good, and then in other cases it can be bad, right? So women by nature, we do this more often, whereas men, they'll take the credit, not solely for themselves, but they're more comfortable saying, yep, I led that project. Yes, that was a successful program. Yes, I helped drive that metric down by, 10% over the last quarter. Whereas women, it's we drove it down, right? So it's that's helped me a little bit. But what I want to encourage the audience listening to this is it's whatever's comfortable for you, but take that time to celebrate those wins. If celebrating those wins means going out with your group of, your best ladies, and you're going out for a nice dinner and a drink and celebrating, the accomplishment of a successful project, or standing up a program, or a raise, or a promotion, or, any real significant milestone, do that for yourself. Do that for yourself in a way that makes you feel good and that allows your support system to uplift you, so that when it's their turn, you can uplift them. That's what's really been the difference in how I celebrate my wins versus maybe somebody else. But at the end of the day, don't ever downsize your contributions or your accomplishments. Learn how to articulate them, and then learn how to translate them onto your resumes, and your career will be transformative.
Thank you very much for that. One last question before we round up the show. What's the most impactful way to support other women in tech?
I would say do a little bit of what I'm doing. I'm not going to say exactly what I'm doing, but you would be surprised how many nonprofit and non-government organizations are out there trying to do exactly what some of the larger organizations I support are doing. So I support 3 really amazing organizations. 2 are here out of the United States and 1 is out of Africa. And so I support the CyberSafe Foundation, I support the Women's Society of Cyber Jitsu, and I support the Women in Cybersecurity WSIS. And that's probably the largest joy over my last 8 years, was moving from kind of men and women geared nonprofit networking for information technology and cybersecurity, and really blending that out with organizations that are just about women's success, just about helping women stay in the career field, not burn out, not, give up on their hopes and dreams because it's a male dominated field, and kind of act as that pseudo big sister for women that are trying to pivot into the industry, or women that are starting their career, or women that are, just trying to figure it out, because sometimes we get a passion interest and we don't end up going in that career field, but maybe you find out that project management or program management is the way for you, or strategic management is the way for you. But being a part of that and uplifting other women across the world has been so transformative. And that's the best part, is it's all volunteer. It's not for profit. It's because we genuinely care. And that's really what's helped me in the last 8 years, just go from feeling very isolated and stuck and not knowing a lot of successful women to where I am today.
I'm a product of CyberSafe Foundation, Cyber Girls alumni.
Yeah. I'm a CyberSafe mentor. So this is my 2nd year running. So I'm so excited for the 2024 cohort. And I can't wait to just touch all of the amazing lives that are involved in this program. For the 500 that got selected, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be transformative. Last year was amazing, and it continues to just transform and impact women's lives in such a positive way that it makes me excited.
Thank you. So there's actually this quote of yours that stuck with me since last year, where you said a consistent drop on a crack causes the mountain to move itself. It stuck with me forever, and one way or the other, you've actually touched my life. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. And again, it's a lifelong kind of relationship, even though we're oceans away, right? And then listening to Confidence when we were doing our mentor sync to kick off, the 2024 cohort, it's exactly that. We're helping women find their group. We're helping women unite in a way that traditionally in society where it's not encouraged that much, right? It's when we get into these corporate settings, it's very competitive and it's very isolating, when behind the scenes, if you're a part of these larger organizations, you're never divided. You're always united, and you always know who you can lean on to get a different perspective or to, get help, because we don't know everything. So I think there's a beauty in what she's helping bring to the forefront, and to just be a part of that, I am so humbled. And then to just hear you say that I impacted your life, that makes my heart very full and very happy.
Joining me on this journey from imposter to empowered. Nia, your insights and experiences have inspired us all to embrace our strengths and support one another in the tech community. Remember, empowerment is a journey, not a destination. Keep shining your light and lifting others up along the way. Until next time, stay resilient, stay curious, and keep disrupting the status quo.